the historic home restoration panel and discussion. So welcome and thank you to the Clarkdale Historical Society and Museum for hosting us today. If you have not already become a member or donated to the Museum and Historical Society, you can do that right up front at the table on your way out. We really appreciate everybody who came out today. I'm Kimberly Hillen. I'm a local historic homeowner and realtor. I'm also a board member of the Historical Society and a member of the Historic Preservation Commission here in Clarkdale. Most importantly, though, for this presentation, I am an enthusiast for restoration projects. Joining us today, we have Keith Singleton, our plumber, William Gross, our general contractor, and Angel Ortiz, our electrician. I'm going to hand this over to them to do some brief introductions so that you guys can get to know them a little better. After that, we will go through a PowerPoint that I've put together, and then after we're done with the PowerPoint, we'll open up for some question and answer with our professionals.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Keith Singleton, owner of Northern Arizona Plumbing Solutions based in Sedona. I founded the company in 2022 and built a strong reputation across the Verde Valley for high-quality work and reliable service, earning consistent 5-star feedback from our clients. My background includes training and hands-on experience in New York City, where I worked extensively on older homes and historic plumbing systems. Foundation is carried directly into my work here, especially in communities like Clarkdale, where many homes reflect a similar era of construction. Today, my company specializes in everything from targeted bathroom remodels and targeted repairs to full plumbing home replacements, complete home renovations. A large part of our work involves restoring and modernizing aging infrastructure while preserving the integrity and character of these historic homes. I'm proud to be a part of the local community and help homeowners invest in systems that make their homes safer and more reliable and built to last. Thank you.
My name is William Gross. I own Lighthouse Flooring, and I also represent Double C Construction. We've been here since 1980. We've been retrofitting everything from restaurants in Jerome to homes in the area. My company specializes in all types of flooring for it, along with granite and marble from that time period. And Double C Construction does everything from the old-time plastering to the retrofitting, everything that you, from modern days now to into these homes, which is a challenge at times. Thank you.
My name is Angel Ortiz. I've been a resident of Cottonwood for 40 years. I've been an electrician in this area for 20 years. Started at the cement plant. Moved on to, I started on the industrial level, of course, and moved on to all of these older homes and learned over the years how to restore them and get everything up to date. I was working on Kim's place just last night, and that showed me some challenges in there, but I have a lot of experience in this area. Thank you.
All right, thank you guys for that. Angel was at my house last night till well after sunset working on some electrical in my kitchen. The plaster walls will get you every time. All right, I'm going to go ahead and start our slideshow. So restoring a historic home is really a labor of love, and it sits somewhere in between an art project and a high-stakes puzzle. It's about honoring the past while making sure that your floor doesn't give out during dinner. If you're looking to dive into the world of old house ownership, we're going to go over some of the most critical considerations to keep your budget and your sanity intact. So we're going to go through these big five today, these big 5 points of restoration. We're going to go through these in detail. Some of these things are going to give you guys information that you might already know if you're a homeowner here. And some of these are going to be things that you're going to have questions on at the end. That's totally fine. We're going to open up for question and answer. And then also, when you guys are available and ready after the presentation, there's some tables over here that we can take a look at for more information and some actual relics from some of these older homes. All right, so the first one here is going to be the challenge of drawing the line between preservation, which is keeping a lot of the historic original materials of your home that keep the character, and modernization. And modernization can help make a house livable, and realistically, we can do that without, over-modernizing, whitewashing things, putting IKEA flat cabinets everywhere in your kitchen and things like that. So what our goal here is we're trying to keep the soul of the house. Features like your original woodwork. Don't paint it white. I am constantly having the mental struggle of, do I really want to now strip all these years of white and probably lead-based paint off of the original woodwork? Does anybody here have a house with their original woodwork in it that's exposed? I've seen Helen's, yeah, I'm like, yep. Yeah, it's beautiful, and it carries a lot of value. You'll see things like the wavy glass windows. Does anybody have original windows in their house still? Some do, yeah. And it's great if they're not painted shut. They work really well in some of the houses where they've been really well taken care of. We do have one over here that was from Jeff Simon's house on Main Street. And if you look at them closely, especially just the window panes, you'll actually be able to see on some of them, depending on the age, the window sinks, the glass will sink, and it will actually be a little bit thicker at the bottom. We're gonna try to avoid flipping a house. How many of you guys have walked into what looks like a beautiful historic home on the outside, and you get inside and it's a sterile, hyper-modernized version of a house? Have you guys seen that, where they're knocking down walls, opening things up, and just everything is taken down and made very, very basic? What a lot of people fail to think about when they're thinking about restoring a home are these structural components, are things like electrical wiring, plumbing, HVAC systems. I can tell you from my experience as a real estate agent, those are big ticket items. Those are also things that as a historic homeowner, I want to make sure that those things are modernized to a level that meets code and safety standards. There are plenty of old homes where the knob and tube wiring is functioning perfectly and there's no issue. But as soon as you have something happen with wiring, as you know, you could get an electrical fire, sparks in the walls and things like that that you can't see that could cause bigger issues down the line. As soon as you have one little issue, you're likely going to have to replace the whole thing. So it is best on those things to be proactive. And yes, they're generally the most expensive. They're not cosmetic. You don't get to see all the money you put into those things. But I can tell you that if you want to be able to live in your historic home and you want to be comfortable, or if you want to one day sell it down the line, those things hold a ton of value. And those are things that these gentlemen can answer questions on for you too. Investigation. So we want to see things like, what did my home look like in the past? This is where the Museum and Historical Society really can come in as a fantastic resource for the town. I don't know if everybody here has been to the museum. It's the small building next to the police station. There's tons of archives that are available. There's people there that can answer your questions, that can help you. There's forms you can fill out where you can request more information, like a deep dive into your home. We did bring some of those items today. They're over here on the table to the right. So if you want to flip through and look through the information, you can find your home in the index and things like that. Another great piece that I've personally really take value in is being able to talk to my neighbors, people who have a similar style home to mine. I have one of the eclectic homes, and we're the only eclectic home on Main Street. And it's been great. I've I've personally been inside of almost 30 homes here in just Upper Clarkdale alone, and it's just from walking around the neighborhood and talking to my neighbors. And I've seen things that help me understand how I can implement changes in my own home. Learning from other people's mistakes is free. And everybody that has been here a really long time has been a fantastic resource. So just get out and talk to your neighbors. A lot of the people sitting in the audience today are people who have done home renovations, who have changed things, who are looking to change things on their home, but preserve that character and that integrity of the past. They also don't build homes like they built ours here. So here's a good example. Okay, we have a home that's been restored. The kitchens always get me. We just took a trip to Texas. My husband is working on and off out there, and so we visited Fredericksburg. Has anybody ever been to Fredericksburg, Texas? Beautiful, absolutely beautiful historic town built in the 1800s, a lot of limestone block, brick. I walked into a few of the homes, and the kitchens were gorgeous. I can't tell you how many times I've walked into historic homes that have been renovated and the kitchens look like this, or a mix of the two, which is even more interesting to me. It's one of those things that this kitchen, to me, I don't see any character in it. It feels cookie cutter, it feels bland, it feels like it lacks character. And that may totally be somebody's style, which is fine. But if you're trying to preserve your home and you're trying to make it livable, but also preserve that integrity, there are ways to do it. There's ways that you can bring the past back with the modern pieces of furniture, with the modern appliances. There's plenty of companies out there that make historic versions of things. I've even seen some folks who do restoration of the vintage appliances. They cost quite a bit, but they last forever. How many of you guys have gotten into the crawl space under your house here? Yeah, it's pretty interesting. There's a home here in Upper Clarkdale that we've seen the crawl space of, and William's working on it right now. And it was really cool to see how they've changed things under there over time to make sure the house is supported and it's level. Most of our homes are on stem walls. Most of them are on like a pier block underneath or wood posts. So these are things that we really have to look at and be able to get under the house and make sure. I don't know about you guys, but I can tell in my house when I stand in the middle and I look, I have a door on each side of the living room. And both the door frames are kind of tilted. It leaves a little gap at the top of each door when you close it, but I tell myself it's for ventilation. But this is really important because the skeleton of your house, if there's issues with that, you're gonna start to see it in cracks forming in the house, baseboards coming detached from the flooring. Like I said, my doorways sinking and moving. And getting somebody to be able to get under the house that knows how to repair that structural integrity, whether it's putting jacks. I'm gonna talk here when I show you guys this next picture a little bit about how people I'm seeing advertisements everywhere for sealing your crawl space. Your house needs to breathe. These old houses were not built to be hermetically sealed. A lot of them are built with old world timber, which we have some examples of over on the table. Those things need to be able to contract and expand in the various weather conditions that we have here. Luckily, we don't have a lot of moisture, but if you wrap those things, if you seal them up with plastic or some kind of adhesive that seals them, a paint that's heavy and seals them up, you could leave your woodwork susceptible to rot. It will get in there, moisture gets in there, gets trapped, and even in this hot, dry climate, I have seen plenty of things, especially casitas. If somebody brings a casita in and drops it down onto wood joists that are just touching the soil, it's only a matter of time before your foundation goes out from under you. So on the left here, you can see the original structure of a foundation of a home with a crawl space, and those blocks are almost like a brick and mortar style. And you can see they're wider at the bottom, more narrow at the top. They're providing that structural integrity. Now, that will work for a period of time, but over time, that stuff's gonna deteriorate. Pieces of the house in certain areas you're gonna feel them sinking. Does anybody have good creaky wood floors like I do? Yeah, some of you guys do. But you'll see then methods to replace and repair things like that. These joist posts, there were some under the house at 103 13th Street. There were some jacks. There's some under our house where you can see they tried to remedy that. And it's good every few years or so to get somebody to look at that, to make sure, because it's a lot easier to fix it preventatively than it is after the fact when there's been damage to your house because of it. And has anybody here tried to repair a cracked plaster wall? It's not fun. I should have hired a professional. I felt like a kid with Play-Doh. But then you see this seal, this piece of tarp that they put under there. Now, some of them are perforated. You'll see companies that come in and they do a perforated tarp. That allows moisture to move in and out with the seasons. It doesn't trap it in there. But if you see these other companies, I get advertisements all the time on my social media. Every time I open it, it's like, we can fix your foundation and seal your home. They are probably listening to all of my gripes about my old house and plugging me with advertisements accordingly. But sealing it like that, it's, like I said, it's gonna cause problems down the line. Have you guys been in any of the new green build homes? Any of these homes? We lived in one when we first moved here. And they were advertised to us as, this is sealed up perfectly tight, and this is the greatest thing ever, and this is what you want now, and it's on this sealed slab foundation, and all the walls and all the ceilings and all the vents, everything is this self-contained, hermetically sealed system. And then they said, but we had to put this thing in the attic, and then you have to check the filter in it, and it draws fresh air in from the outside, and you got to check the battery and check the filter and make sure it's plugged in and check the computerized panel. And I'm like, well, what is that for? If the house is sealed, why do we need that? What does that do? And the lady looked at me and she goes, well, basically it's the equivalent of just cracking open a window. And I'm like, okay, so we solved a problem that we created by creating a new problem. So regulatory red tape. This one is something that a lot of people get nervous about. I've seen people who have suffered setbacks on their projects, people who have had to deal with adversity in various permit departments. Basically what it comes down to is if you have a local historic commission, talk to them. If not for permission, because most towns that have these commissions, a lot of them don't require permission. Clarkdale does not require permission. Jerome does on some levels, but we're a resource. I'm part of the commission here, excuse me, and my goal in joining the commission was to bridge that gap between the commission and the community, and it's just communication. We have resources, we talk to people, we have available sit downs. There's time frames that we can allocate to sit with you and talk and answer your questions and help you get the right permits with the town and have a good open line there where we can actually come in and help. There's some commissions in certain towns that they won't let you paint your house a certain color because it's not on their historic list of paint colors, materials of gutters and add-ons, and like I said, materials and resources for professionals to help you. That's our goal. That is a big thing here. Permits and inspections. Going over here and talking to Gus and Bob before you start a project, letting them know what your ideas are, what you're thinking about doing. They can tell you whether or not you're going to need a permit for what you're thinking of doing. They're going to let you know what the steps in that process are. They can come out and look at your home. And like I said, if you want to have an intermediary, please feel free to reach out. I'm available to help people in my community anytime. Another good thing, about these historic homes are the tax credits. How many people were pleasantly surprised when they saw what their tax bill was on a registered home? Yeah, that was fantastic for us. Any money I can save by not paying the government is great for me. You could go through SHPO, which is our state historic preservation offices. I did bring my copy of the reclassification. So every 15 years, they're going to send me a renewal for my home to remain on the registry and still get my tax credit and things like that. They require 2 photos of the front of your home. Here for us, they just want the front of your home to remain in the condition and to look like it did in the past originally. What you do on the inside is totally up to you. Okay, here we go. How many people have found lead paint, asbestos? Has anybody had to do any testing in their home for any of these materials? Yeah, I have too. So when you buy one of these homes, you get a lead paint disclosure that you have to sign. And sometimes that freaks people out. Lead paint and asbestos are things that can definitely pose an issue if they become airborne. There are ways to contain these things. I know William and I have talked about when we were removing the floor tiles out of my kitchen, whether or not the adhesive on those contained asbestos. Some of the insulation in homes contains asbestos. We had ours completely vacuumed out, redone, and all the ductwork replaced. And the guys who came out to do it were very professional, and they told us that there was not any asbestos up there. So finding somebody who can do the testing for you, you can actually purchase some tests. And there I am, getting a mild dose of lead poisoning despite all of my personal protective equipment while sanding my original cabinet doors for my kitchen. And it was worth it because they look gorgeous now. I don't recommend sanding them. I was trying to get down to the original wood to see if we could sand, seal, and just keep them original wood. The answer was no. There was too many nicks and scrapes and things in there, so I did end up giving them a fresh coat of paint. Stripping it would have been a better method, and I did try that at first, but there's various ways to do it, and you could always just hire a professional, which in hindsight I probably should have done. But you can order test kits for lead paint right on Amazon. Just follow the directions, and it'll tell you, you just rub it on the surface. You don't have to bring the surface out. You don't have to expose yourself to it, and it'll test it and tell you. Asbestos is a little different. You're going to want to hire somebody to come in and do the testing for that. And finally, our historic home premium. How many of you guys have started a project and realized halfway to 3/4 of the way through it was going to cost you an arm and a leg more? Yeah. So when you start pulling things apart, you'll find some surprises. Surprises in the walls, surprises in the floors, surprises in the attic, and they can get pricey. So allocating an extra 20 to 30% for your budget is generally what you want to see, what you want to try to do, so that if you hit one of those snags, you have the funds to go ahead and make sure it's remedied properly. All right, thank you. There is my contact information. And if you guys need anything, feel free to keep my contact information. I also have some business cards over on both of these tables. If you have any questions after the presentation, I'll be around for a little bit too. I'm going to let these guys open up for question and answer, and I can pass this microphone to anybody who has questions.
Hello. Back where my husband and I are from, Erie, Pennsylvania, there's a lot of historic homes. Our house was built in 1886, a Victorian. What age do you consider historic in Clarkdale? Do you have it? What age do you consider historic in Clarkdale?
Typically, for a historic home to be designated as historic, it's 50 years.
That's considered young for more.
Yeah, same. I grew up in Pennsylvania, near Philadelphia, and yeah, homes from the 1800s were pretty common, 1700s as well. Okay.
The sealed crawl space scenario that you showed with the perforated versus non? Is non-perforated done generally like radon prevention would be the question?
Yeah. Yeah, so the question is the difference between perforated and non-perforated sealing of a crawl space. And she asked a really good question, and it's something that doesn't really come up here specifically because we don't normally have radon issues. But you will see, you know, on the East Coast, I know that was a big thing. You had to make sure that if you had a basement, a crawl space, it was sealed properly against radon if there was radon that was found during the inspection process on the home.
Do you know what the tax credit is if you get your home on the National Register of Historic Places?
It can vary, but I know ours ended up being, I think we're paying about $700 a year, and without it, I think it would have been closer to $2,000 a year. So it was 40%, okay.
And there's also, I got the list of, Clarkdale is on the National Registry of Historic Places. If you have a structure that's contributing, that means you're certified historic, that's a certified historic building. And if it's a residential building, you get 40% off your property taxes. And if anybody wants to look up their property, I've got that. What about commercial? What?
Commercial buildings?
Oh, commercial buildings, it's different. They have different taxes, and it's like, we can talk more about that afterwards, and there's some information over there too, so.
Any other questions for our panel?
A question about plumbing. Well, primarily about plumbing, but so I've been in my crawl space, and it's interesting. We have a 4-room, 1930 house, and there's parts of the crawl space where you can stand up in there, and there's other parts where it's about, 2.5, 3 feet to crawl. So, and the plumbing I don't think was gone through thoroughly when we did the remodel. So typically, like, what does it cost to have all that assessed, to go down there and say, that the crawl space and the foundation, are in good shape, or, I have an expiration date sooner than a lot of people, so I'm not too worried about what it's going to be like 100 years from now, but anyway, that's what I was wondering. The cost, just for an assessment.
Costs can vary depending how far you want to take it, or if there's specific things that you wanted to investigate. For just a normal come out visit and take a look visually and check valves and water line condition, stuff like that, we usually just have a $99 fee to come out. And the way we operate is we'll put that $99 towards any service that you choose to move forward with on an estimate provided for up to 30 days. If you wanted to take it further, if you had like sewer line issues or septic issues, you're worried about the condition of the drain lines, which is a big concern on older homes with cast iron, we could do something like a camera inspection on the inside of the lines, check proper slope, all things like that. That's a little more expensive and a little more involved. Typically, you'd need like a clean out, which is an access point for the sewer line at the outside of the home where you would run cables to clear clogs and stuff like that. And a lot of the older homes don't have that. If that's the case, you'd have to pull a toilet off the ground. So the prices can vary a little bit, but it's roughly about $400 for a camera inspection. So it just depends on what you're facing, what your concerns are, and how we can address those.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so far so good. Everything's working fine. I did notice we have a little bit of an oddity. Near the alley, there's a spigot, and it works when the main shutoff on the side of the house is off. So there's water to that point, and then there's a main shutoff on the side of the house. And the other day, I was running the garden hose off of that spigot near the alley, and I went in to take a shower, and it's like this weird loud noise underneath the shower, but it all went away when I shut everything off. So I mean, I don't know, it's like I kind of go by the theory of if it works, don't fix it, but for 99 bucks, I'd have you come out and take a look. So,
I could think of a lot of weird noises that would happen in these homes, so it's hard to say, obviously, but
Yeah.
we'd be happy to look anytime.
and then structurally, who does that? Is that? Yeah, yeah.
We come out and just give free estimates and look at structure. We'll crawl underneath and see how it is and just kind of give you an overall view of what's there. Like in the one picture, setting up jack stands like that, it's a common thing depending on how big your house is, how long it'll be and how much. But overall, we'll come out and give free estimates to look at that.
Yeah, 944 square feet, and we had the wood floors refinished and everything. They're creaky, but I like it creaky, and yeah. Yeah, so like I said, so far so good, but I'm curious about those things, you know.
You're never going to really get away from the creek, even if we jack it every 4 feet.
Yeah.
You're not going to get away from it. They're old houses. Everything moves. Everything kind of shifts on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
It is what it is. So you either love it or you don't. So yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Hi, Bill Regner from Clarkdale. I have two historic homes. One we did an extensive renovation on, and I had a question about the plumbing, because the up pipes, the vent pipes, were wonderful, beautiful cast iron and non-corroded. The pipes underneath the floor, you can see a couple of them over here on the display table, were definitely deteriorated and cracked. My contractor insisted on replacing even the vertical vent pipes, as beautiful and as intact as they were, because he felt he could not guarantee them in order, according to his contract. So I was just curious whether that was something that is really required. Again, beautiful cast iron pieces that didn't need to be replaced, but were because of a liability issue, I guess, on the part of the contractor.
Cast iron waste and vent systems, they're built to last, but over time they deteriorate. We commonly see cracking, partial collapses, root intrusions, and heavy internal scaling. Even when the pipe looks intact from the outside and may seem like good condition, the inside diameter can be reduced significantly from buildup, leading to slow drainage, frequent clogs, and recurring maintenance issues. There's ways to extend the life of these systems, such as descaling with something called like a chain knocker. You go in and it clears the inside of the pipe lining, or hydrojetting. It's like a pressure washer for the inside of the sewer lines. But every attempt to clean older piping does carry some risk. These systems can be fragile, and sometimes cleaning them is what exposes underlying failure. So that's why we rely heavily on camera inspections to properly assess conditions before recommending a solution. And a lot of us, including ourselves, would have liabilities in place just in case something happens.
Yeah. These are the vent pipes going up into this crawl space, so there was no sewage or water flowing through them. And I have a piece outside. It was too big to bring in. So I guess the question would be, if it's looked at and examined and determined to be sound, can it be reused, or does it have to be replaced?
Yeah, so another option is like if there's problems with the actual sewer lines, they'll do like relining now. You can actually reline the inside of the pipes, and a lot of times we'll see the vent systems are fine. Typically the drains are cast iron, but the vents are galvanized steel, and you won't have that buildup inside the vents, but they can still crack. They can drop from weight, and that can expose sewer gases, which can be problematic in other ways.
Yes, they are heavy.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah,
And so we can do also something like a smoke test where we run smoke that can be seen visually from different points where cracks or air is escaping from the system where it's not supposed to.
Just a comment to add to what you're already talking about. In the two houses I have, one has an addition built onto it. And at the time, this was done in the 80s, and at that time, the county was doing the inspections for Clarkdale. And I had wood on dirt for this addition. which had to be then jacked up and, and footings put in and poured in, things like that. So I guess, do you run into that often here? And I guess anybody here that's thinking about purchasing a house that has an addition added onto it, really look at what the foundation is for those additions, because that can be quite an expensive endeavor.
That's a common, the easy way to do it, which is hard for us, you just dig it out, pour concrete, and go from there. Codes kind of vary, but for the longevity of your house, it is better to dig it out, pour a footer, block it up, get everything back to what needs to be, and go from there.
But do you find it commonly that those additions were not done according to a basic code today of
up to
a
a certain
foundation?
point, up to a certain point, there was no such thing as codes. So everyone kind of built as it is. So now as you move into modern era with modern codes, we find that 9 times out of 10 in these old places that's the way it was, and you have to do that. So yeah. To the other one about the plumbing, you have to realize too, the other side to that, a lot of stuff doesn't fit, modern stuff doesn't fit to the new plumbing or the new drywall or the new everything. And if you're talking, you've added all this to this point, and now you have 10, 15 feet, it's just as easy to do and go up and redo it than try and retrofit to anything that was there, in the beginning. It's easier. The liability is a lot greater for anyone in the construction industry to hook to stuff like that and move forward when you're talking $200-300 to pull it out, redo it maybe, or if something breaks down the line, thousands and thousands of dollars for someone to come in, clean out underneath, clean everything out, remove everything. It's just easier at times to just spend the extra money and go up or go another 10 feet. I'm working on a house here. We tore all the walls out. We're going to replumb and redo all the tile in the bathrooms. By the time we got done with tearing it out and finding out what was bad, we've taken all the plumbing out and gone almost to the street. It's easier, it's safer, there is no headache, and we can guarantee it at that point for forever. So, yeah.
I wondered if you would comment also on the pointing and the mortar joints in the brick. Many of these houses are brick, and I found that it is, at the time, this is just a lime and sand mortar. There's no cement in it at all. And when you're tearing things out and using any kind of a jackhammer or whatever that causes any vibration, that mortar just liquefies into sand and weakens the structure. So I was wondering if you have found that, and as far as pointing or repairing the mortar, what kind of solutions you're using to get a mixture that matches because of expansion and things like that when you use 2 different kinds of mortar.
You really don't. It's trial and error in that fact. Now you're back to putting everything into a sleeve, spending hours, scraping everything out, and then re-sleeving or re-grouting by hand, all that stuff, which is a lot of time and a lot of money for that. But to getting anything to match, not really. It's just trial and error. The other side too is just do it and then come back with some kind of concrete stain and stain it all so it all looks the same at some point.
Do you find that holds up over time with different
yes.
temperature expansions and moisture absorption
does.
and drying out?
Yeah, it's hard when you start the jackhammer to run, like in his case, run pipe through a wall, and you're just going to cut a little hole. By the time you're done, you've got a huge 4-foot by 4-foot area where now you've got to redo everything and kind of do it and get it back. It's a common, but we can never get it to match. never, so.
It's hard. What about the flooring? Are you finding sources for wood that matches the Oregon pine, or what is that, maple that in the upper some of them?
That's somewhat easy. There's a lot of companies out there that still make the same wood that you have like in this gym floor. So it's really easy with just a little bit of time to find those companies again, or find other companies that still make the 2-inch, by 3/4 or the multiples and do it. That's a common, easy, couple phone calls and you can find the wood. We're finding now in the industry that all the 30s and all the granite and all the marble from the 30s is now making a new comeback. So there's a lot of companies making those old style of tile and stuff again and bringing it back into. So it's as time goes on, it's getting more and more common for that material, to find that old material.
I have two questions, actually. One is about mortar. I read that 100 years is when the mortar between the bricks starts to break down. Do you think it's really necessary to do just to replace that or repair it? Or is that something that you can expect to still be pretty structurally sound after 100 years? That's one question. And my other question was about windows. I live in Lower Clarkdale. I don't think there's any original windows left down there, unfortunately. Mine were long gone, so I replaced them with something that looked like the original windows. But do people tend to want to just get rid of those old windows, or are you able to repair them, and what is that involved, and is it expensive? So, two questions.
I'm going to go back to the old thing. If it still works, don't touch it kind of additive. After 100 years, it should still be good. There's buildings out there that are a lot older with that same structure of building, and it should be fine. The windows is a hard one. It is very hard to rebuild old windows. That's why people tend to find something that's closer to the air and reinstall them from like an Anderson or a Milgard or something like that that's closer. It's almost the cost effective to find something that looks like it and replace it. Plus the fact that now the double panes, the more of the insulation factor is a lot better. They work better, but at the same time, if money is not an object, rebuilding them still to what they used to look like is still a good option, but it's really how deep into your pocketbook do you want to go?
I really don't have a historic home question, but Kimberly, you did talk about I think you mentioned a green build home with air exchange. When we built our house here 5 years ago, C&B built it. It's energy efficient and has the air exchange. I consider air exchange taking the existing air out of the house and bringing in fresh air. I don't think it's equivalent to just opening a window. But really my question is, if you want to give an opinion, I'll start with this. I know how today's new build homes are built. It's appalling from what I have seen in person and on videos. Nonetheless, has energy efficient homes fallen out of favor? Do you know? I don't know.
We do a lot of new construction. I'm not the general contractor of the project, but he was doing net zero. We do a lot of construction, obviously only the plumbing side of it, but I did work with a general contractor that did net zero homes. He actually recently stepped away from it because they were offering a really high tax incentive, and he would build the homes and then sell the homes later, and they offered a huge amount of tax rebate for that, which they have since stopped. So he does energy efficient homes, but the net zero specifically, and they were very strict. You had to have hot water to fixtures immediately, which you still have to have, but a lot of other details that went into that. So it depends on the contractor and depends on who's building the home. I think they have found ways to build really good quality homes now, but a lot of people cut corners for cost. Things are extremely expensive, so it just depends on whose budget it is, how good they want to build the home, and who's trying to sell it, and all the different factors. So
if you follow the codes that are out there, you are to a point building a energy efficient home. C&B at the time when they were building homes, he was above and beyond what he was doing. He won national awards for what he did. So to get a house from him back in the day was amazing. It has fallen to a point out of the norm now to, you don't get the tax credits, you don't get the things, but if you follow what the board says or what the city puts out there, you're to a point you're building a good, efficient home. So it's really, you can upgrade by some things. They've changed a lot. Back in the day when I first started out, we never Tyvek'd them. We never put plastic under the concrete. There's a lot of stuff. The times have changed. So now you Tyvek, now you put plastic, now you do all these things and you double wrap the windows. When the codes change, they make it better. So if you follow, like I said, if you follow what they want you to do, you're getting a good home. But I do understand your thing.
I'm talking about the big national builders. They're dangerous
Me
to live in.
personally, being in the business for my whole life, I'd never buy a chain home.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
It's
Even if you have a third-party inspector watching it go up.
I don't want to talk ill about a lot of things, but you're talking about a company that makes money on how many they sell a year. It's called blow and go to a point. If you want a good home, either build it yourself or find a contractor that does a couple a year and builds them slow, not fast. But at the same time, I say that, there's a lot of good companies that do fast homes, but you've got to really research what you're doing.
Okay.
I think I have a question for Angel real quick. So our electric panel was upgraded. Our electric panel was upgraded, at least a third upgrade, because it had like a 150 amp panel on it, and to a 200 amp panel, and I was just wondering if you do, this speaks to power utility company reliability. Do you do backup systems for like a 944 square foot house?
I haven't for that amount of square footage.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just depends. I mean, there are really smaller systems that you can get that, 6 circuit systems that are pretty nice that, that would probably work for you.
Yeah. So a company like Generac or somebody like that?
There's all kinds. There's so many different brands. There's, Alliance, that was the last one I just did, and it was a 6 circuit. It had one 240 volt backup for their water pump.
Right.
That was the biggest draw on it, and that was a 2-pole 20 amp circuit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was thinking of a whole house kind of thing, because I retired from the power company in Phoenix, and I know the system reliability isn't always there, so.
Generac is the most common, they're the biggest name, so
Yeah.
I'm sure you'd be able to find something that
Okay,
would work
thank
for
you.
Yeah, sure.
I'm wondering if each of you could, hello? I think the battery's going out on this. Each of you could give us 2 or 3 reasons we, from your own, each of your own trades, if you would give us maybe 2 or 3 reasons why we want a contractor who understands historic home renovation rather than a contractor who doesn't?
I think experience in historic homes is very important. There's lots of varying things that you can run into, in especially trying to repair or even open up walls. Like he was saying, you know, if you're doing a remodel, it's good to address as much behind the walls as possible. But anytime you dive into these older homes, you can definitely do damage at the same time as well, especially if you're not experienced with that. So for plumbing specifically, a lot of people are on a budget. They want to work with what's there, and understandably so, things can start to add up. However, we also recommend to do as much of it as possible while walls are open. If we're going strictly on repairs, I think the risk is higher. Anytime you're trying to work with an aged system like that, things can break. And we've just had a lot of follow-up calls from people that say, I attempted to fix this and now it's broken and now I have a huge estimate to repair it. And I signed this contract and, you know, now I don't have a working plumbing system. You know, we need help. So, you know, it's very, especially when it comes to plumbing, it's very quick to be left in a situation where you can't use your system, you know, so I think especially if with historic homes, it's good to ask whoever you're hiring if they have experience in your area or with older homes specifically.
That's kind of a hard one. I'm going to go with age of the contractor. If you find, it's common sense. If you find someone that's in their 20s and you're going to hire them to remodel your home or do something, it's not that they can't do it. I don't think they've had the experience to find all the problems that are out there. So you could get any contractor that's got age to them. You're buying the knowledge that someone has. So the older someone is in this point is a little bit better. They've seen it all. Not particularly. I just want to know that they've seen enough out there that if they come to a problem, they have enough intelligence to stop and go, wait a minute, we may need to look at something a little different here. Talk to you as the homeowner and go, hey, it doesn't look right. What do you think? How do you want to do it? This is my recommendation. Either bring some other people in and go, hey, yeah, it's the same thing. I don't see that with these new kids coming out, you know, 20s, you know, they just want to get in, get out, move on. It's more of, at this time frame, it's more of an age thing.
For me, it's just the experience. I've worked on a lot of these homes. I see Helen Lusher back there. I've done a lot of work on her place over the years. Of course, Kimberly's place. I've just run into just so many different things. Just an example, at her house, she wanted a switch moved. I wanted to cut in a new 2-gang box. As soon as I started to move the single gang box that was there, all the plaster started breaking around it. So I just kind of switched gears and I figured out how to just make it work with a stack switch, because I just know that you start messing with this stuff, it breaks away. Another example, a ceiling fan installed. They had steel conduit in the walls. The old 2-wire non-metallic cable inside that conduit. I was like, oh, I'm going to pull this stuff out. I'm going to be made. I'm going to pull new wire in there. No, for some reason that wire, it like welds inside of that conduit. It was made with some kind of like a tar almost, and that was a nightmare. So yeah, really just the experience for me is I have seen it all.
There's a piece of that conduit and some of that wire on that table. Anybody wants to see what he's talking about?
Yeah, I remember the ceiling fan was the first instance, and I was alarmed at first. I was like, is it supposed to look like this? But that was the beauty of having Angel come in and look at those things. It's great because he's seen it. He's worked on these houses. He has that experience. And with the box, as soon as he mentioned the plaster, I was like PTSD for the laundry room wall that I had to replaster myself. And he was like, but I have a solution. And he told me, I'm like, I wouldn't have thought of that. So I'm so glad that, I have somebody with that knowledge and experience that can make those calls and use the tools in his toolbox to do it.
So I concur, you really have to find somebody that is not intimidated by these houses, because you will always, you move one thing, you find something else. And it's also great if you can find somebody that loves working on them. Nothing square, but also appreciates the quality of the craftsmanship and the materials that built these houses. You just don't see that in modern houses. And we had talked about, energy efficiency. To me, energy efficiency, are you saving energy? Are you saving money? My house is solid brick with lots of insulation in the ceiling, in the crawl space, none underneath the house, solar. And my electrical bill, year-round, is about $13 a month, even with air conditioning. So, there are ways, and my house is comfortable. People think older houses are drafty and cold, or they're hard to heat, and my house is a very comfortable house with those modifications. So, and it's the best built house I've ever lived in my life. So I have to say that about historic homes, and also express my appreciation for people like you that are not intimidated, that have seen everything and aren't panicked if something goes awry, because something will always go awry, and don't just want to tear things down or tear things out. So anyway, that's my comment.
Anybody else? Yes, sir.
What's that? Oh, okay. Windows were brought up earlier, and I have replaced windows in 2 houses. And I'll make a statement, maybe you can comment. It's really important that your window installer understands these historic homes here, because of the construction of the window frames, I don't know all the terminology, but how these windows fit into the brick openings can be very tricky, and then they start tearing into your brick to make them fit. That creates a whole nother set of problems. So can you comment at all on what people should be thinking about and what kind of questions they should be asking their window installers about putting new windows in historic homes?
Putting windows in these homes, especially in the brick, is a tricky one, because back in the day, they would just screw it right to the brick. The problem is a lot of these things, you have to cut some of the brick away to get them to self-fit. You need to make sure in that aspect that who's ever installing them realizes that they're going to have to tear out a little bit to make them fit flush. The best way is the old-fashioned way, is to reframe them with wood, seal all that in, and then get your window. It's a little harder for the fact that now you've got to make sure everything is perfectly flat. There's going to be gaps. You've got to fill all that gap in, and figure out a way to do that, and then measure your window to fit the new opening. The other way is to cut your brick away, cut it flat, grind it flat, and then put it in there. But now you're tearing away, and you're causing more of an issue, because now you're back to what she said. Now you're vibrating the house, you're doing things, all these brick and everything in the mortar is going to start to crack and cause more problems down the way, where you could have just reframed it with wood, done some other things, and done it a lot easier.
Okay, any other questions anybody has right now? Good. Okay, if you folks out here in the audience would like contact information for any of these gentlemen, please feel free to come up and exchange information. If you have questions you want to ask them specifically, that's fine as well. I'm sure they have plenty of work to do. I know you've got some work to do at my house. The tile guy's over there right now doing our backsplash, and it looks fantastic. Another thing I wanted to bring up to everybody is I want you guys to keep this on your radar. I am considering bringing back a version of the home tours. Clarkdale, the museum, was involved with doing home tours. I've looked into various historic neighborhoods in Arizona and looking at the methodologies of how they do their home tours. Some are very simple, some are very, very extravagant. So we're trying to find something that works well for our community, that works well for the homeowners, something that where everybody can be comfortable and feel confident about being able to show their home. So if that's something anybody would like to get involved in the future, please feel free to reach out to me. I would love to work with you. And if anybody needs anything else, feel free to ask. Again, over here, we'll be standing over at this table to give you information on some of the items that you see from the old homes, sewer lines, electrical, windows, etc. And thank you, Bill, for bringing a lot of these items over for us today. Okay, thank you all.